Welcome to Mommy's Journey, where we share real, inspiring, and heartwarming stories about the incredible journey of motherhood. In this video, we dive into the story of Amara, a strong and determined mom who faced unexpected challenges during her pregnancy with gestational diabetes. This story is a testament to the resilience of mothers, the power of love and support, and the beauty of overcoming obstacles to bring new life into the world. Whether you're a mom-to-be, or simply someone who loves hearing about the strength of the human spirit, this story will touch your heart. Sit back, relax, and let's step into Amara's journey together. Amara was 30 when she found out she was pregnant with her first child. She and her husband, Ravi, had been overjoyed at the sight of the positive pregnancy test, and they eagerly began preparing for the arrival of their baby. Amara read every book on pregnancy she could find, attended prenatal yoga classes, and relished each new milestone, from the first ultrasound to hearing her baby's heartbeat. At her 24-week checkup, her doctor suggested a glucose tolerance test, a routine procedure to screen for gestational diabetes. Amara wasn't worried. She was otherwise healthy, active, and maintained a balanced diet. When the results came back, her doctor, Dr. Lila, called her in for a follow-up. "Amara," Dr. Lila said, her tone calm but serious. "Your glucose levels are elevated. We need to confirm, but it looks like gestational diabetes." Amara's heart sank. She had heard of gestational diabetes but knew little about it. Questions flooded her mind. "What does this mean for my baby? Will I be okay? Is this my fault?" Dr. Lila patiently explained that gestational diabetes occurs due to hormonal changes during pregnancy that make it harder for the body to use insulin effectively. It wasn't Amara's fault, but it was something they needed to manage carefully. After the diagnosis was confirmed, Amara's life changed dramatically. She was referred to a dietitian who helped her create a strict meal plan. Her love for spontaneous snacks, a bowl of ice cream here, a bag of chips there, was replaced with carefully portioned meals that balanced carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. She began testing her blood sugar 4 times a day, pricking her fingers and recording the results in a small notebook. Exercise became an even more integral part of her routine. She started walking after every meal, even when she was tired or it was raining outside. Ravi, ever supportive, walked beside her, holding an umbrella and cracking jokes to keep her spirits up. Despite her efforts, there were moments of frustration. One evening, after a particularly stressful day at work, Amara indulged in a small piece of chocolate cake. The next morning, her blood sugar was higher than usual, and guilt washed over her. She cried in Ravi's arms, overwhelmed by the fear that she might harm her baby. "Amara," he whispered, "you're doing everything you can. One slip-up doesn't define you. We're in this together." Her medical team monitored her closely. Weekly check-ins with Dr. Lila became the norm, and toward the end of her pregnancy, she had to undergo more frequent ultrasounds to ensure the baby wasn't growing too large, a common complication of gestational diabetes. As her due date approached, Amara's doctors discussed the possible risks associated with gestational diabetes and childbirth. Babies born to mothers with gestational diabetes can be larger than average, increasing the likelihood of complications during delivery. There was also a slight risk of the baby experiencing low blood sugar after birth. "We might need to induce labor if the baby appears too large," Dr. Lila explained during one visit. "Or depending on how things progress, we might consider a cesarean delivery. But remember, our priority is the safety of both you and your baby." Amara nodded, trying to absorb the information. She had dreamed of a natural birth experience, but she knew that plans might need to change. Ravi held her hand tightly as they left the clinic, reassuring her, "No matter how this baby comes into the world, it'll be the most beautiful day of our lives." At 38 weeks during a routine checkup, Dr. Leela decided it was time to induce labor. The baby was measuring large, and waiting longer could increase the risks. Amara and Ravi arrived at the hospital the next morning, carrying a carefully packed bag filled with essentials and a tiny onesie for their baby. The induction process was slow, and contractions didn't begin immediately. Amara spent hours in the hospital bed, trying to stay calm. Ravi was her rock, feeding her ice chips and telling her stories to distract her from the growing discomfort. When the contractions finally began, they came with intensity. Amara gripped Ravi's hand as the waves of pain washed over her. Despite the epidural, labor was long and arduous. After 16 hours, Dr. Leela informed her that progress had stalled. The baby wasn't descending as expected, and Amara was becoming exhausted. "We need to perform a cesarean," Dr. Lila said gently but firmly. "It's the safest option at this point." Amara felt a pang of disappointment but nodded. She was too tired to argue, and her priority was clear: the baby's safety. The operating room was bright and sterile, and Amara felt a mix of nerves and anticipation. Ravi was by her side, dressed in scrubs, holding her hand as the medical team worked efficiently around them. Moments later, she heard the most beautiful sound she had ever heard: her baby's first cry. "It's a boy!" the nurse announced, holding up a squirming, pink-faced newborn. Tears streamed down Amara's cheeks as the baby was placed on her chest for a brief moment. He was perfect, with a head full of dark hair and tiny fingers that curled instinctively around hers. Ravi kissed her forehead, his own eyes glistening. "He's here, Amara. You did it." The medical team whisked the baby away to check his blood sugar levels, a precautionary measure for babies born to mothers with gestational diabetes. The wait felt endless, but soon the pediatrician returned with good news. The baby's blood sugar was stable, and he was healthy. In the days that followed, Amara struggled with breastfeeding. Her milk supply was slow to come in, and she worried about whether the baby, whom they named Arav, was getting enough to eat. The lactation consultant reassured her that supplementing with formula was okay if necessary. Despite her initial resistance, Amara realized that fed was best and decided to combine breastfeeding with formula. Arav was monitored closely for the first 24 hours to ensure his blood sugar levels remained stable. Amara felt a deep sense of relief every time the nurse reported a normal reading. She gazed at her tiny son in awe, marveling at his resilience and strength. As they settled into life at home, Amara reflected on her journey. Gestational diabetes had been a challenging experience, but it had taught her invaluable lessons about perseverance and self-care. Ravi had been her unwavering support, and their bond had only grown stronger. Arav was a happy, thriving baby who filled their days with joy and sleepless nights. Amara often found herself staring at him as he slept, his tiny chest rising and falling with each breath, and felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Her postpartum checkup revealed that her blood sugar levels had returned to normal, but she remained cautious about her diet and lifestyle. Dr. Lila reminded her that gestational diabetes increased her risk of developing type 2 diabetes later in life, and Amara was determined to stay healthy for herself and her family. Amara's journey was one of resilience, love, and adaptation. She learned that motherhood often involves unexpected challenges, and that the measure of a mother's strength lies not in perfection, but in her willingness to face those challenges head-on. Arav's birth was not what she had initially envisioned, but it was beautiful in its own way, a testament to the unpredictability and wonder of life. Every time Amara looked at Arav, she was reminded of how far they had come together. And though the path had been difficult, it was one she would walk again in a heartbeat for the precious gift she now held in her arms. Thank you for tuning in to Mommy's Journey. We hope Amara's story resonated with you and reminded you of the incredible strength within all mothers. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone who might find it inspiring, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories like this one. Let us know in the comments what you think about Amara's journey, and stay connected with us for more real-life tales of courage, love, and motherhood. Until next time, stay strong and keep cherishing every moment of your journey.